me to get up closer here to this light?
No, that's fine. All right. And 2, 3, 1, action.
Carl Thayler was one of the most unappreciated of all American poets of this century and the last. But he still left a considerable body of work. Everything on this table over here is his, published and unpublished. He started, of course, as an actor. His way of communicating his artistic vision was with his body, with his voice, with his face, and he pursued that for quite a while and was, relatively successful. But when he decided to go back to the university, and he left the motion picture industry, he began in philosophy, which has always been his root. He is essentially a philosophical thinker and ultimately a philosophical poet. But after meeting Paul Blackburn and getting to know Paul, as he has described himself, he came to a point where philosophy was not going to do it. And he decided philosophy wasn't going to do it, and that it was poetry that would have to be the way he expressed what he understood about himself and about the world he found himself in. And so he began. His first book was published by the Perishable Press, a very, you might say, esoteric and beautiful hand-set letterpress job called The Drivers, 11 poems based on short-track drivers of the late 60s. This came out in 1969, and he began with it a fascination with poems about people. Handsome Bob Pancratz, Ray Crawford, and this will go on to the very end of his life, to the Tail Gunner's song, a whole little book based on Senator Joseph McCarthy, who is essentially the hero of the poem. He tended to write always about people, and so I think that as The Drivers was his first, 20 years later, just about, the second issue of The Drivers was published, New Poems. These were published by Bloody Twin Press down in southern Ohio, and again, Little Al, PJ, Mel, Ferlin, Goldie. Again, always it was the human being doing whatever it was that human being was doing. Usually in Carl's world, something pretty exciting. His novel that is coming out this fall is called West, and it is based on Southwestern history, Southern California history from about 1900 to about 1930. And it takes in everything from the death of Pat Garrett, shot to death there on the road between Las Cruces and El Paso, the machinations of the Santa Fe gang in New Mexico politics, and it's got an incredible cast. But it's always, again, it comes back to the human predicament, the human situation. Here in Shake Hands, which was a more recent book, 2001, put out by Pavement Saw Press here in Ohio, and it's dedicated to the memory of Town Van Zandt. And you have, again, wonderful poems. Chuck Berry, here's a poem for Howard, and old painters. That would be George, whom he worked with on another book that we have. Just extraordinarily rich. If you go back to his second book was called the Mariposa Suite, which was a very, very elegantly done combination of poems with prints, and by Warrington Colescott, and done in London at the Tetrad Press. You have a poem here, and then on the facing the poem in a folder is an engraving. There were very few of these, and this set is only partial. I've really never seen a complete set. Those didn't last long. Later on in the early 70s, as he moved and became a little bit better known in the poetry world, Sumac Press picked up his work and published a good, basically of the first solid full-length book of his called The Providings. That was Jim Harrison, who was the editor, along with Stan Gerber, both of them important poets and writers in their way, and also publishers. Later on in 1971, Modine Gulch Press, a small, limited edition type press, published a few poems called Some Ground. These were poems for Marcia, his wife. Marcia. Another kind of strange one, I love the cover of it, Goodrich, which was published in the next year in 1972, and you have again a beautiful handset letterpress, and where are we? Merle Haggard, the Haggard Ode. Back again to these poems which focus on, I might say, on real